There we go. Looks like we're recording. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I am Justin Porter, State Director for Special Education at the Texas Education Agency. And this is, if you thought you were attending our regular LEA weekly webinar, that's not what's happening today. We have taken this spot over. We made the announcement at TCASE and a couple other places and changed it on the website. But today is all about the Amplio Speech digital dyslexia platform. So we're super excited to be here to talk to you all about that today. I have several colleagues on the line here from Amplio, and you'll hear from some of them as we go through, and also Janet Curry from MTA. Janet, if you want to wave, is here. Michelle Reeves, our state dyslexia coordinator, is here to keep us all straightforward and honest, to make sure I don't screw anything up. It takes a village to keep me on the straight and narrow. And then I'm just going to do the round robin. Julie Zuckerman, who works with Amplio. Julie, you want to give a wave? Steve Reuter. A lot of folks, if you're in LEA that's already reached out, you've worked with Steve. Aaron Miner. I'm sorry if I got your name wrong. Am I close? Close enough. Thanks for that, for the patience. And Yair Shapira from Amplio as well. So we're super excited to have you all here. We're going to jump right in and go through the presentation. And then at the end, we'll have some time for questions that we'll take through chat. As things are going, if you have an opportunity or something comes up and you want to put a question in chat, go ahead and do that. We have folks who are paying attention to that and making some notes so we can try to address them at the end. We're also going to talk specifically a little bit about training at the end of the Amplio piece. Michelle's going to come on and talk to us about training for the curriculum. So now, if I can, this is anyone who's been in a webinar with me knows that letting me have control of things is very dangerous. So, but we're going to see what happens here. Let me share my screen. Make sure that I get it shared with share computer sound. And fingers crossed, here we go.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Justin. My name is Steve Reuter, and I am the Senior Director of Sales for Amplio Speech, and I want to thank you for the opportunity to present our digital dyslexia intervention platform today. Amplio Speech's award-winning platform is designed to improve student outcomes through differentiated interventions and to empower special educators to continuously monitor student progress, whether the intervention is on-site or online. In a few minutes, we're going to show you a demo, but I want to take a moment to highlight a few important points about the platform and what you'll be hearing about today. As you'll see in the demo, we have a blended learning model for dyslexia. By this, I mean that we've taken evidence-based dyslexia curricula, MTA for English and Esperanza for Spanish, and not only digitized them, but also added a multitude of interactive activities which employ advanced technologies like artificial intelligence. The blended model means that interventionists can better deliver high-intensity treatments to more students and address learning loss at an accelerated pace. I want to stress for a moment the importance of interactivity. I'm sure that in the past year, one of the major challenges you or your interventionist have faced is the difficulty of having sessions over Zoom or one of the other standard platforms. It's incredibly difficult to keep students engaged when lessons aren't interactive, never mind the headache of uploading worksheets and materials that until now have been on paper. As you'll see in a moment, Amplio Speech is the complete package. It's a closed-loop platform that's taken evidence-based curricula, aligned it with technology, made activities more engaging, which is important both in COVID times and beyond. Let me emphasize here that this platform was actually developed pre-COVID to equip educators with a tool for use in sessions that were in person. We started with speech-language issues and have now expanded to dyslexia. And as you'll see in a moment, the advanced technologies go a long way towards helping to motivate and keep the students engaged. We designed the platform to streamline administrative tasks like scheduling and compliance reporting so that your interventionists can devote more time to educational work. So keep in mind that this platform is not only a solution for COVID, but for years to come. Also, in case it's not obvious, I want to make it really clear. This platform is in no way a replacement for your interventionist. It's a tool. Now, it's a tool with superpowers, if you ask me, that they can use in their work. The interventionist uses the curriculum and the platform to design group lessons and individualized instruction according to the student's needs. The interventionist can hop in and make adjustments at any time. In our session today, you'll be seeing the demo. You'll hear from curriculum partners, we'll share testimonials from the pilot program, and I'll go over how to enroll your LEA in the program and what you can expect once you do so.
AmplioSpeech partners with special education professionals to provide differentiated interventions and continuously monitor student progress, whether treatment is on-site or online. Our platform is outcomes-driven and uses advanced technologies, as you'll see in a moment, to help educators deliver high-intensity interventions and address learning loss at an accelerated pace. The platform incorporates evidence-based dyslexia curricula, the English multisensory teaching approach curriculum, and the Spanish Esperanza curriculum. AmplioSpeech is a zero-installation, highly intuitive, secure platform that is HIPAA and FERPA compliant. You can use it in the classroom setting or online. The curriculum scripts and activities are digitized, and everything is just a click away. The interventionist navigates through the curriculum, selecting practice lessons for the coming session. In each MTA kit, for example, you'll find modules for new learning, reading practice, spelling practice, and more. Let's focus on one of the 1,000 activities in the platform. This one deals with auditory discrimination. On the right pane, the interventionist accesses the script and instructions for the use of this activity. In this presentation mode, the objects on the board are visible to all students and to the interventionist. A supervisor can also attend the session and watch. All objects you see on the board are interactive and multi-sensory. Objects can move around, cards can be flipped, participants can type or write, and the play button reads the text next to it. The interventionist introduces the sound. She goes through sound discovery, models the sound, asks students to echo, and names the letter that spells it, all using multisensory means. She writes the sound in cursive, following the instructions on the right. Then she shows the students the play button and how she expects them to identify the sound and mark if they heard it. In this presentation mode, working with all students, the interventionist demonstrates the task before assigning individual work to the students. Then, she easily distributes the activity to all students in the session to work at their own pace. In the individual mode, each student works on the assigned activity using a personal workboard in his or her own secure environment while viewing other students, just like in the classroom. The interventionist wants to help Jim personally and joins his board. The shared pointer, in this case RB, helps the student follow the instruction and allows for clear identification. While she helps Jim, she keeps an open eye and ear to all other students. She notices that Dan needs some special attention and enters his secure workspace. Apparently, Dan needs some engaging reinforcement. The interventionist has a host of optional integrated tools that she can utilize for reinforcement. In this case, a YouTube video for Dan to watch. The platform also has a speech-to-text widget to measure reading accuracy. It's accessed within the reading practices in the curriculum. The interventionist selects a line for the student to read and begins recording.
Mid, man, mat, dim.
The algorithm automatically analyzes the reading and presents the automatic response at the top. The interventionist may work with the student to adjust the response if needed, and then adds the rate score for reading fluency. This is then saved in the student profile. A report with this information is automatically generated and can be downloaded by the interventionist or special education director as a PDF. The platform allows the interventionist to seamlessly navigate throughout the session. In this engaging game, the interventionist leverages specific questions that would be rewarded with a coin to be placed if answered correctly. The joint activity further increases students' motivation.
The woman plays guitar and the orchestra.
The game automatically pulls target words exposed to the students during the session, and then automatically individualizes the game per student according to their individual pace.
The woman plays violin and the orchestra.
For the students, this, for example, is an ultra-engaging game. The purpose of this specific game is to reinforce what the student learned during the session, and it will measure reading accuracy and fluency. Let's see what happens under the hood.
The woman plays guitar and the orchestra.
The student's reading of the word is automatically analyzed. The platform measures the reading accuracy for each sound, and reinforcement is applied.
The woman plays violin and the orchestra.
Documentation is automatically generated throughout the session and can be copied to notes and reports. This information is consolidated into a single student profile, which can be accessed by approved interventionists and special education administrators. The data is presented in easily consumed charts and graphs, including student participation, student engagement, student self-practice, completed session time, and progress through the curriculum, including performance in reading accuracy and fluency. The school, in turn, gains oversight through a 360-degree dashboard. In the future, we plan to deeper dashboards for special education administrators. I began by getting right into the session, but I want to show you quickly how easy it is for the interventionist to schedule sessions. Parents receive email and text notifications, reducing no-shows and eliminating redundant time spent on locating the students. These are just a few of the features in the platform, and LEAs that enroll in the program will be fully trained on our platform. We're also continually expanding the activities and gamification aspects of the content, as well as adding new tools to help interventionists and administrators. Much of this is based on continuous feedback that we get from interventionists themselves. We consider interventionists and other special education professionals as our partners to deliver the best digital special education.
Now that you've seen the demo, here's what some of the interventionists in the pilot program had to say about AmplioSpeech. AmplioSpeech has found a way to help dyslexia teachers deliver MTA instruction remotely without compromising the fidelity of the program. Integrated tools that automatically pair with each lesson makes instruction meaningful and transitions between sections seamless. Through their platform, teachers now have the ability to work one-on-one with students without losing visibility of other participants. AmplioSpeech's scheduler has helped teachers keep the groups organized, as well as support them in helping notify parents of upcoming sessions. AmplioSpeech allows teachers to safely provide a continuation of services to students with dyslexia in a way that keeps the integrity of the curriculum intact. Emily and the next testimonial you'll hear refer to remote and online use, which is how the platform has been used in the pilot. But as I mentioned earlier, this can absolutely be used during in-person sessions. AmplioSpeech platform answered the call when many of our students with dyslexia were transitioned to a remote setting. They have done an exceptional job marrying today's technology with a consistently successful program like MTA. The digitized curriculum has afforded specialists like myself additional time to provide the best online experience for students with dyslexia. AmplioSpeech has brightened the future for unconventional therapy for dyslexia students worldwide. I'd like to now introduce our curriculum partners, Jana Dobbs, the CEO of MTS Publications for the MTA curriculum, followed by Dr. Elsa Cardenas Hagan, CEO of Valley Speech for the Esperanza Spanish language program.
Hello, my name is Jana Dobbs. I am the CEO of MTS Publications. Our company is owned by the author of MTA, Margaret Taylor Smith. Margaret Smith has long been an advocate for the appropriate education of dyslexic students. She, along with many others, provided testimony in support of a passage of a Texas state law in 1985, deeming that all public schools shall identify dyslexic students and provide appropriate education. She worked with the Texas Education Agency on a volunteer basis to help draft the original procedures concerning dyslexia and also their subsequent revisions. She served as a member of the Texas Education Agency English Language Arts Writing Team for developing the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills for English Language Arts. MTA is a research-based, multisensory, structured, sequential teaching approach for reading and spelling. It is based on an Orton-Gillingham-based program, Alphabetic Phonics. When Margaret received her training, the only resources available were those that described teaching methodologies and a partial list of graphemes and concepts to be taught. There was no curriculum available that provided comprehensive teaching instructions or practice activities for students. So, like the little red hen, she began developing materials herself, at first simply for her own use. This was the beginning of the program now known as MTA. A 4-year trend analysis study was done during the field testing of MTA, and it involved both remedial and non-remedial students in reading and spelling. The results showed progress in both areas, some at highly significant levels. The study was published in Annals of Dyslexia, a publication of the International Dyslexia Association. We at MTS Publications are very excited to be in partnership with the Texas Education Agency and Amplio Speech to present MTA on a virtual platform. Our ultimate goal is to help all students learn to read. This has always been Margaret's most important mission. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Elsa Cardenas Hagen. I am the author of Esperanza. Esperanza is a Spanish language program that was designed to meet the needs of students with dyslexia and related disorders. I want to let you know that Esperanza has been used in national studies to determine its effectiveness for students with dyslexia and related disorders. We're excited to be in collaboration with the Texas Education Agency and Amplio Speech and the Valley Speech Language Learning Center, where I am from, to work on and deliver Esperanza on this wonderful virtual platform that Amplio Speech has provided. I want to let you know that Esperanza was built upon the knowledge of Dr. Samuel Orton and Anna Gillingham, who really looked at the language and how we needed to teach reading to students with dyslexia. Esperanza is aligned to the standards set forth by the Texas Education Agency and aligned to the initiative of the Science of Teaching Reading that we are all so dedicated to. We want to make sure that every student succeeds with reading, especially our students who are Spanish speakers and who need to be taught explicitly and systematically. I'm so excited about the partnership between the Texas Education Agency, Amplio Speech, and Valley Speech in providing you this wonderful opportunity. We're here to service you and work with you as we ensure that every student succeeds with reading. We will achieve literacy, and we won't rest until everyone can read. And I look forward to our collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you again to MTA and Valley Speech for joining us today and sharing some background on the company and their curriculum. The MTA curriculum is available to all LEAs as of right now for use with certified MTA interventionists. If your district does not have MTA certified interventionists, we are happy to connect you with Jana and help start the process. The Esperanza curriculum will be available in the very near future, and we'll be making a separate announcement about that. After this webinar, please make your way to Amplio Speech's TEA Dyslexia landing page. We're putting the link in the chat box now, and from there, you can fill out a simple form to begin the enrollment process. Once you fill out the form, this is what you can expect. You'll receive an email from one of our school success managers detailing the exact information we'll need from you, including the minimum technical requirements and explaining our onboarding process. Your interventionist will be invited to an in-depth training session, and you'll have access to our support and training center. We look forward to working with you, and we'll now open it up for questions from the Q&A box.
Alrighty, so the Q&A is disabled in here, but we have some questions in chat. But before we go through that, we wanted to share a little bit about training, and Michelle's going to walk us through some of that if we can coordinate that. And I'm going to try and share my screen again and show this slide deck. Let me see. Hang on one second. Sorry. You're gonna click the wrong button and end this webinar is what's probably gonna end up happening. 1 second. There we go. You should be seeing slide deck from Michelle.
All right, I see it. Okay, as many of you know, there is a state dyslexia teacher training requirement. So teachers providing dyslexia instructional services must be trained. All right, next slide. Okay, so the training requirements to use the dyslexia platform with MTA. On the left side, you see where it says credentials and training, and then on the right side, you see where it says training requirements. I'm going to start at the top left corner. So certified academic language therapist, CALT, or licensed dyslexia therapist trained in alphabetic phonics, or MTA. This includes therapists who are in training, would only need to have the webinar training on platform use. A certified academic language therapist, CALT, or licensed dyslexia therapist not trained in alphabetic phonics or MTA will need to attend a 2 to 3 day MTA training plus the webinar training on platform use. A certified academic language practitioner, CALP, or licensed dyslexia practitioner trained in alphabetic phonics or MTA. Again, this includes practitioners who are in training. Would only need to attend the webinar training on platform use. Okay, next slide. All right, this goes with the previous slide. Again, on the left, you have credentials and training, and on the right, it's training requirements. So a teacher who completed MTA year 1 and 2 trainings, their training requirement is to attend the webinar training on platform use. A teacher not trained in MTA must complete the initial 5-day training and webinar training on platform use before using the platform. All right, next slide. Okay, this slide is pertaining to Esperanza. So the training requirements to use the dyslexia platform with Esperanza. Again, on the left, you have credentials and training. On the right, you have training requirements. So a bilingual certified academic language practitioner, CALP, or licensed dyslexia practitioner. This includes practitioners who are in training. A teacher or therapist trained in Esperanza will only have to attend the training on platform use. A CALT, certified academic language therapist, or a certified academic language practitioner or teacher not trained in Esperanza must attend Esperanza training and the webinar training on platform use. All right.
All right, just a couple of things before we jump into questions, and then we'll turn it over to Amplio to answer the questions, most of them. We have gotten some questions about what does it mean that there's no student level cost for the school system, and that's exactly what it means. There's no student level cost for it. However, if you need to get folks trained, there may be some costs associated with training, depending on which level of training you need. All of those levels and differentiations in training are exactly as the publishers would have required in a face-to-face implementation of their curriculum. So there's no difference there, and there may be some cost associated with that. That would be the only district expense. We have negotiated with Amplio to provide this the service, the curriculum, and the platform at no cost to LEAs. So there's a question about the length of how long will this be available. Well, the current contract and pricing agreement lasts through the next fiscal year. So August of 2022 is when this contract would end. Just like anything else, at that time, we would evaluate what the value to the state is and whether or not students, whether or not we need to find money to keep it going or not. So cost of teacher materials used during training whatever costs are associated with training are the responsibility of the district. So any costs associated with training would be your responsibility. So I think that's what we're going to do. Let's go ahead and turn it over. Julie, any questions specifically about Amplio for Amplio folks to answer?
Sure. There's tons of questions, so I'm just gonna pick out some. So bear with me a second. Is this iPad compatible or PC?
It is both. It is both iPad compatible and PC.
Okay. And can you address what training the interventionist needs?
I would defer to Jana for that, and she could speak to the training requirements for MTA.
That's the piece that Michelle just did. So we'll make sure that those slides are available.
Okay, sure.
It does work on Chromebooks.
Yes. Okay. Okay. There was a question if parents can opt out.
I'll take that one, Steve. That's going to be for the LEA to decide. That's an LEA question. That's not for us. Yeah. This is not required for anybody. This is a resource we're providing. So if the LEA, that's just going to be their option. I'm not sure why a parent would want to opt out of a high quality intervention program, but that's up to the LEA.
Okay. Sorry, just bear with me. Yeah, I'm scrolling through.
Julie, just to clarify, the Chromebook, just to address this and bring some clarification, that's for the student side only. The interventionist therapist will need something stronger, a laptop or a desktop.
Here's a question. This might be for Justin. I'm not sure. Is this an intervention we can use for students who are red flagged for possible dyslexia, or do they have to be identified as dyslexic?
So that goes back to a question. I'll let Michelle answer that, but it's connected to the State Board of Education's dyslexia handbook. So Michelle, if you want to take that for me.
Sure. So there's nothing that says for intervention that you couldn't use MTA. The main thing is that they have to be trained in the program in order to use it, if they're using it for MTA or Esperanza.
For someone who said she opened the link and doesn't see the charter school choices, there's an option to say on the form, my LEA is not listed here. So just, and it'll open up another box where you can list the charters.
I did just see a question scroll by about the wording in the dyslexia handbook about not using online platforms. That's specifically referring to having a standalone, and Michelle, correct me if I get it wrong, a standalone computer program that's actually teaching the child without the therapist. That's what that's referring to, and that is absolutely not what this is.
That's right. And as I prefaced in that recorded video, this is not a replacement. This works in tandem with an interventionist.
There was a question if Esperanza is available now or in the future, and I think we said this, but just to reiterate, it's going to be available in the very near future. So I could answer that one.
Yeah, I think it's really important that we frame this in the practicality of this being used online or on site. This is not specifically for remote learning. We have tremendous success with this working in a classroom with the interventionist. So it gives the flexibility to the districts to allow services to be provided regardless of physical location. But it absolutely works well on site in addition to online.
Here's another question. I keep hearing interventionist, not therapist. So are therapists to be used?
You got it. We tried to choose a universal vernacular here, but educator, this interventionist, therapists, anyone who has been trained in MTA and is licensed in the state of Texas would be eligible to utilize this program and resource.
There was many questions as to whether or not the recording will be shared. And if you joined late, yes, it will be available on the TA website. And the slides that Michelle shared will also be available, right? Okay. Will an LEA have the option to use Esperanza only?
It'll be part of the platform. So if that is their choice, they can certainly navigate that.
We are a small rural district and do not have staff that meets the requirements. What are your suggestions? Oh.
So we are, this is off in the future, and I don't have any details about it because it's just an idea that we're trying to make happen, but we're trying to stand up something that would provide for sort of staffing for issues just like that, that would be available sort of through a portal where an LEA could contract with various folks who are already trained and ready to implement this. And we think that would actually have a huge impact on the quality of services received by students in our more rural and remote areas as well. Michelle, I've seen a lot of questions come through the chat around group size. Do you want to address that?
Sure. So right now it has 5. You can only have 5. You do have to do a program with Fidelity. So those are the requirements that we have to follow.
I'm also seeing lots of questions about when will, about other systems. The MTA curriculum is baked into this system. That's the curriculum that you use with this system. So people are asking about, is this compatible with other curriculum? It's not. So you would need to be trained in MTA and implementing MTA to do that. We can certainly help you with what things to look at. If you were in a different program and you want to move into this, what you would need to do, what sorts of things you would need to look at. That's the sort of thing that therapists and interventionists do all the time.
Okay.
There's a question about it going live. When you log in and register, you will get all the onboarding information, but we are rolling this out, folks.
Yeah, the MTA curriculum is live and people are in it and have been in it since November as part of the pilot group. And then we anticipate in the next couple of weeks that Esperanza will also be live and available.
There's a question here, where do you access the web-based training? So specifically talking about the platform training, we have a training portal that will be available to anyone who enrolls and starts the onboarding process. So it's very easily accessed. Okay. There's a bunch of questions about training. Is CALT or CALP the same thing as state developed dyslexia training? I just don't know the name of the state training, but my teachers have been through it. Michelle, do you want to take that?
Michelle, do you want to hit that one? You're muted, sorry. There you go.
Sorry, yeah, I'm not really sure what they're talking about state training in reference to the CALT in the CALT.
If the person who asked that wants to clarify your question, please do.
And we'll continue to drop the link. I know that the questions are coming in incredibly fast, but we'll continue to drop the link where you can register and get further information.
There were more questions about Chromebooks, so maybe Steve, you want to
The
re-answer that.
Chromebook, as we know, Chromebooks are incredibly accessible for most students and most districts. They work on the student side. this platform. The staff, the interventionist, the therapist will need to have something stronger. And when you register, the technical requirements are part of the onboarding process where you'll gather that information. But students can use iPads, Chromebooks, desktops, laptops. And as far as interventionists, they will need something, a MacBook or a Dell Refurb or whatever their district is able to provide them. But it is not applicable on a Chromebook for the staff.
There's a question about how do charter districts sign up. So if you're just joining, you can go to the link that's been dropped in the chat box, and on the form, you can, if your charter school is not there, just hit the my LEA is not listed here, and you can list it in a separate box that opens up. Sorry, I know that was another question from a few minutes ago, but they're coming in fast and furious.
I'm seeing a few questions about distinction between 504 and dyslexia. It doesn't matter. 504 in special education. This is a special education initiative, but that doesn't mean that if you have students who are being appropriately served through Section 504, that they can't also take advantage of this. So.
When you register, I see somebody, they're coming in incredibly quickly. Will you provide a link to the MTA training, please? When you register online at the link that Aran keeps dropping in the chat, you'll be provided information to get in contact with Jana as far as the training, if you need to have your interventionists trained on the program. As far as the Amplio training, that is also clearly outlined for your existing credentialed, licensed MTA trainers and the process that entails.
Here's a question.
Sorry, Julie. I just saw a question about if folks have to be, what about kids who are homeschooled? This is homeschool private school. This is not available to them at this point. This is only available for Texas public school students.
Okay. There's a question. How would we handle a student missing a group therapy session? Are they able to make it up on their own, or will they just miss that lesson with a therapist?
So the platform is able to do up to 5 students. And as far as the missing of sessions, that's what those consequences are is in the rescheduling. The rescheduling is certainly part of the platform, but as far as the intervention in that continuity of service, that would be at the ISD level as far as ensuring that intervention is made up.
I think it's also important to note, Steve, that there's self-practice. The interventionist can assign a student to do self-practice at home,
Absolutely,
regardless of whether they were in the session or they missed the session.
Good point, Julie. Thank you.
Okay. Are all of the lessons already built into the platform?
Yes, the platform mirrors the MTA curriculum.
So Michelle, I've seen lots of questions come through about different grade levels, and obviously this is something that, dyslexia curriculum in general mostly are geared towards younger students. However, I know we've had lots of good discussions about how this could be implemented with older kids. Do you want to address that real quick?
I would like to bring Jana to the table since that is her curriculum, and she could talk about the grades that it'd be appropriate for, if that's okay.
Okay. The MTA program is an ungraded program. All of the information in the English language is taught through kits 1 through 7. And so it would be appropriate for anywhere from K all the way up to adult, depending on where your students are when they are first placed in a dyslexia program. It has even been used privately by a person who's in training for CALT on her son, who is 23, and he is on the autism scale. He was nonverbal, had no language at all. And she started using MTA with him, and it has opened language up, and now he is speaking. So it's appropriate from kindergarten to adult.
Thank you, Jana.
Thank you, Jana. One of the questions that came in was as far as there were a cap on the number of students. Absolutely not. But we are getting a very, we have a lot of people signing up in the last few days. So there's no cap on how many students, but I would encourage, if you're interested, to register. It is a scramble. We're going to provide the service to any ISD that registers, regardless of the number of students who need it.
So then,
There's a
Steve,
question.
you also I've seen come through a couple of times the sort of time frame between when we register and when we get involved in it to when we can actually get trained in the platform and begin to access it.
Yeah, so as soon as they register, very shortly thereafter, there's going to be onboarding instructions and next steps that are all clearly outlined. So it is the feedback from registration to getting that first email is very quick. So they will be notified very shortly after registering. That'll outline the next steps.
Here's another question. Would this be an in-class support or resource room support?
So this is wherever you would provide your dyslexia intervention. This is the intensive dyslexia program for kiddos. So it's not, this isn't just a little supplement that you get here and there. This is a very scripted program to address students with dyslexia. So Michelle, I don't know if you want to add any more to that. I'll also, or Jana also. I also, like, I've seen a few more folks come in. There still seems to be confusion about SPED versus 504 versus just straight general ed. That none of that matters. If this intervention is appropriate for that student, then that is it can be provided to them. We're not limiting that at all. It's what your LEA would do and what the ARD committee would decide or the 504 committee would decide.
Okay. There's another question here. I'm wondering about time. I barely have time to get through a small group with all of the MTA activities in one 45-minute slot. How can this be added? How much time does it require?
So I think this would be a good joint answer between Jana and I. The technology, the AI that's involved in this, we are leveraging human resources here. Your interventionists have now a power multiplier. They are going to be able to have more profound, deeper interventions by leveraging technology. As far as your schedule, if you're on block or if you're on 45-minute, the MTA curricula outlines the time requirement and it adheres to that structure. Is there I'm sorry, Justin, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Mine's it's still totally different subject.
There is not an enrollment deadline, but as I just stated, there is quite a few ISDs who have signed up this week and about 100 during this session. So I would sign up as soon as you possibly can if you're looking at implementing this amazing tool for your kids.
A couple of questions about my therapists or interventionists have been trained in a different program. Does this apply? So those slides that Michelle went through, like that tells you exactly if you've been trained in something else, but it's an alphabet phonics based program, then there's a certain level of training that you need. It just depends. And we can, if you have questions specifically about that, get a hold of us at TA and we can help you with that. Amplio can also help you walk through that. So we'd be happy to do that. There was a couple questions about the platform itself and are the therapists actually interacting with the child? And absolutely. The child can also be working on something independently while the therapist is with someone else, and then the therapist can jump onto them just like you would in a small group setting. You'd be working with one student, with one child one-on-one, while someone else is doing a quick activity, and then you jump to them. So within that time frame, it works very similarly to how you would in face-to-face.
And if your LEA is not listed, please click the "It's not listed" choice and continue on with entering your information.
There's a question on, there's been a couple of questions. Can you touch on how speech therapists might utilize the program?
I'm sorry, Julie, could you repeat it?
There's questions on how can speech therapists utilize
This
the
is not a
program?
speech platform, so that's a totally separate product. That's not, that wouldn't be, we wouldn't use that here at all.
Seeing more questions again about when will this be available. As Steve was saying, this is available now.
Yeah.
So how do you coordinate staff training? Once staff training on the platform will be, once we've started the onboarding process, there'll be a live group training session for your interventionists. Scrolling through more questions, hang on.
I think one of the other things that I would suggest is that if we're clearly not going to be able to address all of the questions today, but there is a link on the website where you can certainly, we'll try to field as many of those as possible. As far as the training that's required, that will be outlined regarding the the online training that we provide using the Amplio team. And then if your folks do need to be scheduled, Jana's company will work with you on arranging that. They have a robust number of trainers available.
To use this platform, must the teacher have access to the printed MTA materials?
When it's all digitized, but when they go, if they are not a trained, MTA interventionist, when they go through that, they're provided those resources. But we have digitized those resources so that they are integrated into the platform.
All right, I think we're going to wind up. We're going to wind up here with the questions. If you continue to have more questions, we can still, folks still asking about that. You do not need the actual kit. You do not need the paper-based kit. Everything for the kids and for the instructors is digitized within the platform. So continue, like as Steve said, continue to send your questions in. Make sure that they either come to TEA, myself, Michelle, sped at tea.texas.gov, or Amplio. They're on their website. The link. Can somebody drop the link in chat again in case somebody missed it to the landing page? And then there you go. Thank you. And there's information there as well that'll take you to that. And so you can also get your questions answered through either of those venues. So we will make sure that the few slides that we presented here that really broke down the training and outlined it for you are linked up in the webinar link where we've left stuff before. So we'll make sure that that gets there in the next probably 24 hours or so, just to help folks out with that. That also is part of what was, you can also find that information in the presentation that I did at TCASE earlier this week. And again, myself or Michelle can walk you through that, or Jana or anyone from Amplio can also help you with that as well, because it's pretty standard. And like was mentioned, we are working on really making sure that the training is not the barrier, so that as far as getting into a session and getting through that. I did see a question earlier that I don't think we addressed regarding cost for the webinar platform training itself, and there isn't a cost for that. If that's all you need, if you're already trained in the curriculum, or and all you need is to learn how to use Amplio itself, there's not a cost for that.
The gentleman speaking for TEA is Dr. Justin Porter, who is a statewide director for special education.
Oh, did someone ask who I was? Sorry, I thought I introduced myself earlier. All right, well, thank you all very much. We're super excited about this opportunity, and we'll continue to work with folks to make sure that your questions get answered. And everyone at Amplio has been super responsive and helpful with us, so I'm sure they will be with you all as well, and getting questions answered, making the enrollment process smooth if that's what y'all choose to do. And then we look forward to talking to you more about it as we go forward. Thanks.
Thank you.